live. And we are live.
All right, I am recording. That's not.
From the industrial wastelands of Michigan to the fruited plains of Iowa, this is the American Greed Factory.
Why relate to its sheer perversity?
You are the dead. Remain exactly where you are. Make no move until you are ordered.
We burn them to ashes and then burn the ashes. That's our official motto.
Now we can see you. Clasp your hands behind your heads. Stand out in the middle of the room. Stand back to back.
Who can explain the fascination of fire? What draws us to it? Young or old?
Here comes the candles to light you to bed. Here comes a chopper to chop off your head.
And welcome to the American Greed Factory podcast. Nathan.
This is Colin. Andrew?
And
Yeah, I said Andrew. Didn't it pick up?
it did eventually. There's some
Okay.
delay there. Now I think.
Oh, yeah, because on my end, like Colin jumped in before the intro was done. I'm like, whoa, man, whoa.
The joys of technology. Oh boy. So welcome back, everyone. We're here. We made it another week in an increasingly dangerous America, fraught with peril and fear and everything else. Or not. Or we just went to work. Just depends.
I mean, that's what I did. But
Depends on your point of view and what world you want to live in.
I always, I've been like just increasingly graded by like every time I watch like a YouTube channel and there's like get to a point where it's like, we're all working from home nowadays. And I'm like, bullshit.
Yeah, I love that. It's like, oh, yeah, well, good. Some of us aren't. I don't know anyone that's doing that. I can't think of one person I know that's doing that. Which is probably good because those people might find out in a year they're not going to have jobs at all. Or they're going to take big pay cuts because it's like, well, you don't have to pay for a car or gas now or clothes to come in here.
Yeah,
You
that's
just
it.
stay home.
Yeah, it was the there was like the positive side of it is like, oh, there's all these people that like, oh, they've learned that like, oh, you don't have to come into work, and it's like people that were like with disabilities and stuff like that, like you just do it from home. And then the dark side of it is that if you can do your job from home, then they can send that job to India and they can do it from home too.
Yeah, let's do it from an Indian home for about 75 to 80% less.
no, anybody else see the video of people in the Apple iPhone factory rioting since they didn't get paid?
No,
Because it seems like even they don't want to pay people 25 cents an hour to work on shit, let alone fucking $25 an hour. Those just people in the factory basically throwing iPhones at the windows and fucking like destroying all the cameras and everything else, and there are sticks and shit. So looks like Apple's gonna lose $20. But
well, it's
we'll
like
see.
the thing with the thing with the Chinese is they'll go along and go along and go along, and then when they get pissed, they will tear shit apart. They have had some. Well, I mean, everyone remembers Tiananmen Square.
Yeah,
Like, standing in front of the tank, but a lot of people don't remember. Do you know how many cops got killed in those riots?
no.
Like 83. They just picked them up, strung them up on poles and stuff. Like that wasn't covered. But yeah, there's a memorial square right near where that happened. So it's like a statue of these three policemen, and it's like, yeah, they killed a bunch of cops when that happened. So why didn't these people get paid? What was the reason?
Oh, I just saw the video. Nobody had a comment that would explain why they didn't get paid. If it was like a snafu, it was just a mistake, or it was an intentional thing about not paying them. So
Those plants
Usually the internet. Yeah.
those plants are all closing in 6 months. So
Yeah, that might be why too.
Yeah.
You see, it has
But
500 more comments now than it used to. So.
Does Apple own the plant? Like, can't they just like take that plant and convert it over to something else? Or does Apple
Well, I
own
mean,
it?
I assume, yeah. I think the plant's owned by a Taiwanese conglomerate called Foxconn. So,
Yeah.
but I don't know if they're moving that.
They just take all the shit out of the Foxconn and
Yeah.
move it. Okay, and then essentially useless after that. Then
Well, I mean, you could do something else there.
yeah. But
Well, okay, so this is the factory that's in India now, in Bangalore, one of their newer ones. So finally, somebody linked the story to India Times where it explains why people are doing this. They paid 2 agencies to hire all the workers and pay them, but the agencies kept the money and didn't pay the workers.
Oh, okay. So, unbelievable.
Your classic snafu.
Yeah.
So
What? This money was for them?
I have a great money saving idea.
Yeah.
Don't pay your workers.
I learned this at the Harvard Business School. No. Oh, so that was in India, not China. Okay.
yeah,
That's
which is bad because that's where they're moving their
yeah.
manufacturing base to.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it'll impact anything. There's so many people there without jobs. It doesn't matter if all the employees they hired never got paid. They'll still get people to sign up, unfortunately.
Yeah. India's a startlingly poor country in some places, and then you go see other places, and it like looks amazing. It's like, wow, that's really cool. But then they pan the camera over there, and there's like people begging in the streets. It's like, well, that's depressing. That's like palace beggars, like right next. It's like a weird thing.
Well,
I mean,
that's
that was on here too. So
Also, I was thinking about like an F1. It's like, why are there so many like champion Brazilian drivers? Like, isn't Brazil a pretty poor country? Like, how are these like drivers driving the most high tech vehicles that come out of Brazil? But then I like remember like, yeah, there's a lot of poor people in Brazil, but there's also an upper class that's just as rich as people and the richest people in other countries too. So
yeah, I mean, there's hardly anywhere that would be bad to live if you're very wealthy.
yeah.
Almost no place I can think of, except for like Somalia, or some where there's no like government. It's like maybe there's no advantage to being rich there, but yeah, any place where you have a lot of money is not a bad place to live. I mean, I was shocked at like what it cost.
Yeah, especially all of it.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, literally on my end, like the audio is so timed off, I couldn't tell when somebody's actually not talking. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we heard you like say something, and then like we were obviously like, oh, like he's on some delay, so we're just waiting for you to talk.
Yeah.
No, we're not offended. It's just we know
No, it's
kind of gap. Oh.
yeah. Sorry. No, I'll just say this really quickly. That I've had 2 Spanish teachers in college that both said how cheap it was to buy a brand new like mansion villa down in like Guatemala or something and live there and retire and never work again.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's people. Yeah, I know people that. Where's the people around here? It wasn't Puerto Rico, but there's some country like some island, or yeah, something like that where people go. It's like, yeah, your money goes real far here, and I'm thinking to myself, well, how stable is the government, and what happens when they decide they don't like? Well, it's like paradise. It's like, oh, that means it's always hot. Doesn't sound interesting.
And an occasional hurricane.
Yeah, occasional hurricane, lizards, dengue fever. It's like, I mean, I was saying earlier, I was shocked at how expensive it was to live in Moscow. Like, that's a big international city, but it's like, oh, there are like New York prices in Moscow. It's insane. It's like apartments and stuff, $5,000, $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 a month to rent. It's like, oh wow. But that's only for certain people that live in Russia. That's the oligarchs and all that.
Great to be an oligarch.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's never bad anywhere to have that kind of money, unless you're going to get put up against the wall and shot someday. But
So should we go in the F1 update?
Yeah,
Did you watch the Sakura Grand Prix?
I did.
Okay. I actually didn't watch it. I didn't. Sometimes I go and rewatch it, but sometimes I see enough highlight videos on the Reddit, the Formula One Reddit, that I'm like, all right, I've seen the race, so we'll see what all I can remember.
Well, I was watching it mainly. I wanted to see how George Russell did.
Yeah.
Because it was interesting. Because it's like, I wonder how he's going to do, and he like led the race for a while.
Yeah, for most of it.
And then we had some weird tire shit happen to him and his teammate.
Yeah.
So they put the wrong tires on the wrong car or something.
Yeah. So I'll try to catch up, Andrew. So, so Lewis Hamilton got COVID-19, so he was out for.
Oh yeah, I heard that.
And they're doing 2 races in Bahrain. So this is the second one. They call it the Sakira Grand Prix for reasons. And they're racing the outer track, which looks bigger but is actually shorter. And there's only 11 turns, and some of them are barely turns. So it was like a sub-minute lap time for this race. So it's a really fast, short race. But it has a ton of laps. They did like something like, it was like 80 lap race or something.
Yeah, it was quite a bit of laps.
And so Toto Wolff, who is the team principal for Mercedes, he is also a manager for drivers. And I only know 2 that he manages. One, he manages Esteban Ocon, who used to be at Racing Point and is now at Renault after he got kicked out for a season because Lawrence Stroll bought the team, and he kicked Esteban Ocon out and gave the seat to his son. And then the other driver he manages is George Russell, who is in Williams, which is the worst team in the league. He's been there this is his 2nd year. He's never scored a point in F1. Like, the best he's ever finished is probably like 12th or 13th in a race. And usually the only stat that you can use to say like he's a good driver is that he's never been out qualified by his teammate in qualifying. So they gave the reserve. So Mercedes has a reserve driver, Stoffel Van Dorn, but he was currently doing something for Formula E. But he flew down. It's like, fuck yeah, do I want to get in the fastest car in F1? And then they gave the seat to George Russell, who is a Williams driver. And so, but there's a close relationship between Williams and Mercedes. So Williams is kind of like the B team for Mercedes in the same way that AlphaTauri is the B team for Red Bull. So it's like you kind of have your younger drivers on this B team, and then they get promoted to the main team. So that's kind of what Williams is at this point. Because like Valtteri Bottas raced for Williams before he moved over to Mercedes. And Bottas is the last driver to score a podium for Williams. So they haven't had a podium in like 6 years.
They're working on it.
They almost haven't had a point. I think they almost haven't had a point for like 2 years, although they did get a point last year, but like only technically. It was during that German race where it rained and like everybody crashed out of the race. And like Robert Kubica, like I think he came in 12th place, and then the Alfa Romeo got a penalty for having like a mode that would at the start that would like help them at the starting line. It was like a mode that helped them like drop the clutch better on the wet track, so they got a better start, and they handed them like a 20-second penalty. So then that moved Robert Kubica up above them, and he technically got finished in 10th place. So 1 point for Williams. So this is like a good. It's like, all right. So technically, like George Russell, if you just look at the stats, like in terms of like world driving championship points, he has to be the worst driver in F1, right? And so you put him in a Mercedes, the fastest car in F1, and guess what? He's fucking awesome. So yeah, he led the race. In qualifying, he did get like, he qualified first, and then like at the very last moment, Bottas beat him by like 0.02 of a second in qualifying. But as soon as the race starts, George Russell gets a good start, and then they kind of like move together and they cut off Max Verstappen, who also had a good start, and then George Russell pulls ahead and he's just running away with it. And there's immediately a wreck. Charles Leclerc causes a wreck, and he hits Sergio Perez, and then Max Verstappen, while trying to avoid the wreck, ends up going into the wall. Some people are saying like he didn't know that because the gravel was painted black, he didn't know it was gravel. He thought it was more road. So some people are saying he fucked that up, but only a couple people were saying that, so I don't know. So yeah, then you have like one of the two best drivers in F1 out of the race. So Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc out of the race. Sergio Perez is in last place at the end of the first lap and has to go into a pit stop to change his tire because his back tire got flat spotted. So yeah, George Russell leads the race for about like 50 laps or something.
Yeah.
And I believe they had one pit that worked out before them. And then there was another safety car. I think this was when... I think it's... Oh, shit, what's his name? It was the Williams replacement driver.
Lafiti?
No, Latifi is one of their main drivers. Fuck. It's like I think it's like Jack Aitken or something like that.
Okay.
So he has a spin out and knocks off his front wing, and so there's a safety car. And usually what happens if there's two leading Mercedes in the race and there's a safety car, they immediately come in for a double stack pit. So that means like the first driver comes in and gets a pit, and then immediately after that the second driver comes in to pit. So George Russell goes into pit. They put on his tires, and then there seems to be some confusion. They let him go. Then Bottas comes into pit, and they take the tires off the car, and then they like stop. And they take the tires they put on his car, they take them off, and then they put and then when they take them off, the brakes starting to catch fire, because when the car isn't moving to cool the brakes, the brakes catch fire.
Yeah.
And they put his old tires back on, and this is like a 33-second pit stop. They put his old tires on and sent him out, and everyone's like, "What the fuck was that?" And then they give a radio card to George Russell that he has a mixed set of tires on his car, and he has to come into pit again so they can put legal tires on his car. So every car has its own set of tires. So because they put half of Valtteri's tires on and half of Russell's tires on Russell's car, it was considered a like illegal car. So they had to come in and change the tires.
Okay.
So how did that fuck up happen? It was so there's two halves of the garage. So like each car has its own engineer team that puts the tires on the car. So one side of the garage has a radio that can hear their driver that they work for, essentially. When the pit boss, that's not his name, but it seems fun to call him a pit boss. He calls for the pit, the double stack pit. While he sends that message out, the radios can only hear one voice at a time. So when he gives that message, George Russell is calling on the radio, "Are we coming into pit?" And because they ended up talking over the pit boss. So like half the garage didn't get the message that it was a double stack pit. So
Okay.
So that's how that got fucked up.
You think after the race, their crew chief had a Bobby Knight moment with him?
Well, being that they already won the driver championship, like they're good, but like George Russell clearly would have won that race if they didn't fuck that up.
And even the commentators were saying like, "Oh, this is so sad for him because he just got fucked with that."
And Bottas got fucked too because he just spent the rest of the race on the same ass tires he had the whole time.
Yeah.
And so he has like a 33-second pit stop. He's in the back of the field and he's on old tires, so he can't do shit. He can't.
He even tried to do that acceleration thing
Yeah.
to get around the one guy, and he said his tires wouldn't hold. It's like he had to back off. What do they call that? They talk about during the race, but yeah.
But George Russell on fresh tires and with like 30 laps to go, he fucking chases his way through the field, makes a really good pass on Bottas, who has shit tires, gets up to second place with like 20 laps to go, and like, oh, he's gonna fucking win the race, and he gets a radio call, low pressure puncture on the back rear tire, so he has to come into pit again, and his race is fucked.
That's when the commentators are like, yeah, this has got to be heartbreaking for him.
But he did so with like 20 laps to go or whatever. He did get his way back into the points. He finished in 9th place, so he gets 2 points for that, and then he gets an additional point for doing the fastest lap during the race. So he did get some point. He got his first 3 points in Formula One. So, but even though that fairy tale didn't happen, we had another fairy tale that did happen.
Guy who won the race.
Sergio Perez, who in the first lap was in last place, wins the race. And he got hit, and he was involved in that wreck in the first lap. And he just he carves his way through the field. He's great with tires. He made it work, and he won the fucking race. So, I mean, two of the best drivers knocked each other out of the race, or got knocked out of the race, and then Mercedes have the fuck up, so like two of their drivers pretty much out of the race. So like, but still, like, and that was this is his 10th year in F1. He's had several podiums, but he's never won a race. So this is the first race win he's ever had in his career. Like, probably before, and we'll never know if he'll get to race in F1 ever again because he doesn't have a seat for next year. So
we got something.
Yeah.
He seemed excited.
Oh yeah, he started crying on the radio, so you know that's always a good thing.
Yeah. Especially guys from is he from Mexico?
Yeah, he's from Mexico.
Those little masculine guys, like, yeah, they don't usually do that. Something big's going on. So.
And probably another fairy tale story, I guess, and the forgotten one is Esteban Ocon came in 2nd place. So this is his first podium. He's had a rough time in F1. He's had a rough time this year. Like he's done.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like every time he has a good race, the car breaks down.
Right. That's what I've. So aren't those the worst cars, or is that Ferrari?
Now it's Ferrari. Renault has had a lot of problems in the past with their reliability, but they've seemed to come around on that. But that's why Red Bull dropped them. Is because of their reliability issues. But they've really seemed to like kind of turn that around.
Oh, okay. Well, good.
But also next year they lose. So currently their only customer is McLaren, and next year McLaren is switching over to Mercedes engines. So Renault will not have a customer next year unless the weird thing where Red Bull can't get an engine and they're forced to use Renault engines or something.
Those are always the customers you want. They're like, well, there's no more horses in the stable, so that's.
Well, also I learned something like, because I remember there sounded like when Renault like gave them an engine and like they went to put it in their car and the engine didn't fit in their fucking car, which that's always fun.
That'll make you happy.
Well, I heard that like Red Bull's philosophy. So Red Bull has the shortest car in F1. So that's what makes it more nimble than the other cars. But also that means it can be more squirrely too. But like, if you see like a Red Bull or the AlphaTauris kind of like do some like cool things, like why aren't the other cars doing that? It's because they're more nimble, but they're not necessarily, but they're a bit unstable and not as fast as the other cars.
Oh, okay.
Where like the Mercedes is the longest car, and that's really built on like stability and speed.
And they can just pour it on in the straightaway without.
Yeah.
They're loose. They're rear end loose.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. But yeah, people are kind of because we're with the the quarantine things. People thought that will George Russell get a second shot at the next at the Abu Dhabi, but apparently like he met all the quarantine qualifications. So Lewis Hamilton's back this week for the last race of the year.
Yeah.
But that's fine, whatever. What other? Nikita Mazepin appears to immediately be an asshole and gotten in trouble. Like this is the so
Not wasting any time, huh?
no. I'm not sure if he did or somebody else, but there was he took a video on Instagram, and he's in the passenger seat and he's filming it, and he's in a Ferrari with his friend or whatever, because he's just a fucking rich Russian kid or whatever. He turns the phone to the back seat where there's like some lady who just has like her tit hanging out, and then he just reaches in the back and grabs her other tit, and then she like flips him off and then sucks her finger, and then I almost feel sorry for the guy because like the F1 drivers in the 60s and 70s, like the amount of orgies they were probably going to and got away with it, but now F1's kind of a more wholesome sport. You can't get away with that shit. Yeah, because there's like a joke in the movie Rush where like you have like the paddock like groupies and stuff like that, and they called them screwdrivers because that's what they do. But yeah, so Nikita Mazepin already in trouble. It's like this is the reason he has, and there's always that was the like why you don't hire this guy is because like he seems to have like not great like control over his emotions and but we'll see. Apparently.
A lot of thuggish behavior, and it's like, yeah, isn't he the son of a Russian oligarch? Oh yeah. It's like this is not abnormal behavior for there.
Yeah. Well, I heard Gunther Steiner wanted to have Magnussen and Schumacher, but apparently they needed the money, so they got Mazepin. So I don't know. The only good thing you can see is like you already have somebody to hate next year. Like it's nice when somebody plays the heel role, and when you have a guy in like one of the shittiest cars in F1, like that'll be fun. Like it'll be fun to watch him fail constantly. Although because he's in the same car as Schumacher, he's probably just going to be wrecking Schumacher the entire next year.
Yeah. That'll be fun for him.
Yep. Yeah, so they had qualifying today for Abu Dhabi. The only surprise is that Max Verstappen got pole position.
Right.
Bottas got second, Hamilton third. I don't really have anything to say about it. I mean, everything's wrapped up, so the Lewis Hamilton's champion, the Mercedes is constructor champion, so the only really thing to watch for is the third place. Because Racing Point, like in the first Bahrain race, both cars didn't finish. Both cars DNF'd, so they got no points. And so I believe it was McLaren pulled ahead, but then they got a double podium in the second race, and so Racing Point pulled ahead by 10 points. And so it's pretty close. It's like mathematically Renault still possible. McLaren is in there, but Racing Point's ahead right now. Although it's weird, I guess because they replaced the engine for Perez's car, so he qualified. He got to Q2, and then he didn't put up a time. So he's like starting in 15th place because they were saving the engine for the race because they pretty much just don't know like if the engine will last the whole race. So they were trying to be a bit softer on the engine.
Oh, okay.
But we already know that Perez can race his way through the entire field. So,
well, could be interesting.
Yeah.
We'll know tomorrow. Last race of the season, right?
Yep.
All right. So tune in. We'll talk about it in a couple weeks.
Sure.
Oh, see, so we have some 2-minute warnings to round out.
Yep, doing the wrestling and video game one.
All righty. So let's see. We'll start with pro wrestling. This is pretty much all you, Conlon.
Yep.
AEW Full Gear 2020.
Let's see here. Full Gear. It was a really good show. This was oh fuck! Now I'm just immediately forgetting what happened. The Young Bucks finally became tag team champions. So
Okay.
that's been a long time. They beat FTR. It's been a match being built for like over like 4 years. Because FTR used to be in WWE as the Revival. And
Okay.
and on BTE, like when they were all in New Japan, they constantly like it ended up being a meme where it was like "fuck the Revival" was the meme, and then WWE like gave them a cease and desist order that they couldn't say "fuck the Revival," so then they just came up with the initials FTR, and so when the contract for the Revival finally came up in WWE, they immediately relinquished a bunch of stuff so they could come over to AEW, and then they came over as AEW as FTR, like that's their tag team name. Yeah, it was a really good match, a long match. There's a lot of like history that's involved in it. Like I didn't necessarily understand everything till I listened to a bunch of podcasts. It's like, oh, okay. They're like, it was kind of like if you know like wrestling through the history, like they kind of like basically did like a year by year recreation of history through the ages. Like that was the match.
Oh, okay.
on top of like what the rivalry was. Oh man, I can't remember all the matches off the top of my head, but it was a really good show. So.
All right. And we have New Japan Pro Wrestling Power Struggle.
This one's gonna be short because I don't remember it. I remember the wrestling being good.
Okay.
So done with that.
All right. Well, let me reset this then. Let's see. Next we have reset. Next we have NXT Takeover 31.
Yeah, can't really remember this one. It was a really good show. I remember that. They recently had NXT War Games last weekend. That was fun. The War Games match is a specific match where they have two rings side by side, and it's a big cage that covers both rings.
Oh, okay.
And then there's a stipulation. There's a weird stipulation where it's like, it's a 4-on-4 match, but 3 of your guys are locked into shark cages, and then like every 3 minutes that goes by, one of the teams, their guy can come into the cage. And like that creates like, 2-on-1 situations. Like, well, let's beat the fuck out of this guy. But the match doesn't officially start till everybody is in the ring.
Oh, so they're trying to beat the hell out of people before. Okay, and then you got one guy coming out fresh.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, Takeover 31 was good. I can't remember off the top of the head what happened. I believe Johnny Gargano got. Did he win it there? Fuck. Yeah, I can't remember. It was good though. So, and it's kind of like it's been weird because NXT has been kind of it really hasn't found its own footing, except for like the women's division is really good, but everything else is just kind of like they're just seem to be just doing things to do things.
Yeah.
But like when it comes to a takeover, they always seem to kind of pull it together. So like still hasn't been a bad takeover yet. So.
All right. All right, and then we have All Out 2020.
So this is AEW again. That was a fucking weird show. Like they had a battle royale to start off, and they got to like the last guy, and it was like a big announcement. You know, it was a big mystery, like who the last guy was going to be, and it ends up being Matt Sydal, who's known for being like a high flyer, but not necessarily like a huge name where it's like holy shit, he's come to AEW, but he's good. And like one of the things he's known for is his shooting star press. And a shooting star press is like one of those impossible moves because you get on the top ring and you do a backflip. You're facing forward, so you do a backflip, but then you have to move forward and land on your opponent.
Okay.
So it's
Gymnastic.
yeah. So because they're doing it in an outdoor amphitheater, like there's a lot of moisture that accumulates on the ring occasionally.
Uh-oh.
And he goes to do his shooting star press, and just like slips and weirdly falls like on his, like he kind of just falls on his shoulder, but like it looked bad because like he immediately it's like, oh, it's Matt Sydal, and he comes out and he knees a guy in the face. It's like that looks cool, and then climbs the top rope, and immediately it becomes awkward.
Wow. Moisture, it'll always get you.
But they did do a fun thing on BTE, which is their YouTube show, where it's kind of like sketch comedy and sort of storylines. There's a guy, his name's Michael Nakazawa, and like one of his things is like he always has like oil, and he like oils himself up so like, you know, people can't grab him, or he does weird things with it.
Yeah.
And so they did like a thing that made it where he like, this is what happened 2 weeks ago, and he puts oil on the turnbuckle, and it's like, oh, you made Matt Sydal slip, and then that became a storyline. So.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you take lemons and turn them into lemonade.
The other thing that happened is, this is live, is Matt Hardy. Him and Sammy Guevara were wrestling, and Sammy Guevara's spear. They're like on scissor lifts. So they climbed a scissor lift, and they're like 2 stories up, and it's on concrete, but they have a couple tables down below, but like directly next to the scissor lift, not an arc. It's like, so you have to like go out and fall directly down for the tables to break your fall. Sammy Guevara spears Matt Hardy. They barely hit the table, and he just like hits his head flat on the concrete, and he's clearly out. Sammy Guevara is trying to like drag him up, so because there's like a tent. It was last man standing match. So the idea is like you're supposed to beat the shit out of your opponent till they can't reach the count of 10. And he was fucking clearly knocked out, and he wasn't gonna reach this count of 10. And Sammy Guevara just like drags him to his feet so they can stop the count, and then drops him again. And then eventually, like apparently, like it looked really, really bad, and it was like super awkward for the rest of the night. So like that was a bummer for that show, but yeah.
Interesting occurrence. So we got NXT Takeover 30.
Even though this is the older one, I vaguely remember what happened. This was a really good show too. I can't remember like all the matches. The one I do remember, this is where Keith Lee, who he had both the North American Championship and the NXT Championship. He was the first double champion in NXT, and this was his send-off before going off to WWE. So like, before you go off to WWE, you're supposed to lose your last match essentially.
Oh, okay.
So he's going up against Karrion Kross, who Karrion Kross is new to NXT, and he has like a really great entrance that's all cool. He has his girlfriend is super hot, and she gets into, does weird artistic dark shit before the match. Like there's a bunch of fog rolls in it. It's in black and white, and there's a weird song. That's a really good presentation. But unfortunately, like that match was the worst match of the night because even though Karrion Kross won, he separated his shoulder like within like the first 2 minutes of the match.
Oh.
And so he basically couldn't do anything. And Keith Lee weighs like 330 pounds, and he had to throw him around with a separated shoulder.
Oh, that's fun.
So it was a lot of Keith Lee kind of like flipping himself around, and the guy just kind of holding on.
He's got a light touch. Guy's really flying though.
And like Keith Lee's known for what he's known for is like he's a 330-pound guy who does luchador shit, like flips, dives, all that stuff. But usually he can only fight. There's only one guy he can never have a wrestling match with, and that's Dominic Divakovic. Nah, I can't remember. Dominic Divakovic. Fuck, I can't remember his name. Call him Dijak in the Dijakovic. That's it, Dijakovic. Dijakovic's like 6'5", weighs 250 pounds, so he's the only guy that can throw Keith Lee around. So.
Oh, okay. And then we have SummerSlam.
WWE. The only thing I remember about this was that at the end of it, there was a match between Braun Strowman and The Fiend, and at the end, Roman Reigns came back. Who because he's had cancer before, he's like immunocompromised for COVID-19, so he's kind of stayed away for a while. Although he said he didn't stay away for that, he said he stayed away because he just had twins, and so they're working on. I think he had twins, but yeah, he recently had another kid. He's got several. But what's interesting here is that Roman Reigns has usually been a baby face. He's usually the good guy.
Yeah.
So here they turned him heel, and it's awesome.
Oh, okay.
Because one of the things is people rejected him being the top guy. So when you have an audience, they'd always boo Roman Reigns, even though he's supposed to be the good guy. It's very unfair, but the audience, sometimes the audience just doesn't like what WWE is shoving down their throat for good reasons. But booing Roman Reigns wasn't really a good reason. But now they get to boo him because he's good at and they have this whole thing where he's entitled, he's just he's being a good heel. It's awesome. So
Oh, good.
he's kind of playing into the role that the audience thinks of him, even though there's not audience members there. But anyways,
Yeah. Well, whatever they're doing. Whatever's going on there. All right. Let me get into games. This is again going to be mostly you and maybe.
oh fuck, hold on, I gotta go get this.
Oh, okay. What's he going to get?
I don't know. Everything's got his computer, so I don't know.
Wonder what he's going to go get. Is it going to be a gun? Is it going to be?
I hope not. And the gun is no.
What's that?
I
Oh,
wonder what we're going to get. I said a gun.
Pandemic Legacy Season 0.
Yep.
So this is there's a lineage of games. There's Pandemic games where it's essentially it's a board game where you're trying to stop a pandemic from happening. And then there's these Legacy series where it's more story oriented. There's the series of the sort of the rules of the gameplay are used another thing. There's one it's Pandemic Roman Times, where it's the fall of Rome and you're trying to batter away
Like of Justinian or something.
yeah, but then it has nothing to do with the pandemic. It just kind of uses the rule set. So yeah, we got that's the cover of it, and this thing is fucking huge. There's
I've seen it in the shop. I didn't know how much stuff was in it because it was pretty
there's
big. box.
so much shit. You got this dossier here, and it's kind of like an advent calendar. So all those things open up, and there's as you're going through the game, you're kind of, and this isn't about a pandemic. It's about it's Cold War conspiracy stuff.
Oh, okay.
And then I think the ultimate thing is the Russians were making something that ends up being the virus in the pandemic games.
Okay.
But there's no pandemic in this game. But yeah, you got a bunch of these dossiers. You have you make a passport. So you got all this shit to make a passport with.
Huh.
There's just a bunch of shit. It's a storytelling game. So there's stuff where it's it'll tell you to destroy something, and you have to figure out if you ever want to play this again. So I think it's only really meant to be played a couple of times. There's only so much you can get out of the game.
But they definitely put it together with a lot of love, huh?
A bunch of cards, just a bunch of shit like that. This is a huge board. You got these fake little lock boxes, you're supposed to open up and there's just stuff inside.
Huh.
There's 8 of these.
Wow.
And so yeah. So hopefully someday I'll get to play it, but It seems really cool, but yeah, it kind of seems like an elaborate storytelling board game where, at some point. But yeah, I don't think it's meant to be like necessarily like played over and over again. I think there's just kind of like a couple of times, and you kind of like essentially get to the story. But
Oh, okay.
so yeah, that's Pandemic Legacy Zero. Came out this year, so.
Well, if it wouldn't be for the pandemic, I could come over Christmas week because basically I have like a week and a half off from work paid. If you want to game through your glass door, we can do that. Just I'll sit out, sit out in the step, and then it's like you roll the dice, Colin. What did we get?
Hey, you can just wash your hands. As long as you don't have a fever and stuff like that, you'll be good.
Well, we've had three people now, maybe 4 this week that had COVID in the last month at work. So I wouldn't bet on me
Okay.
being secure.
All right, well, then we'll just wait.
Yeah. Nathan, how's Ford doing with COVID? Quick update.
We got a couple guys in and out. It's not bad in Michigan. When you get to some of the other states, it's real bad. It's like, oh, we're canceling shifts and we're moving people around and we might put salaried people on the line. And, there's all kinds of stories going around. I don't know. I mean, it's I'm more worried about my wife because it's like all over her facility. But
Isn't she like be the first ones to be available to get a vaccine?
yeah. Yep. Well, the patients will be the very first.
Okay.
And then, maybe the nurses, some of the nurses that like just can't work because they're too old. I mean, they might get it and cut back. I don't know. Problem is not with the nursing staff head count. The problem is the nurses' aides. It's like you can't find anyone to be a nurse's aide anymore. They're just like, nope, and I don't blame them. But yeah, as far as I know, it's everything's fine. I mean, we have a bunch of guys missing. It's like, hey, where's so and so? Oh, he's got COVID. Oh, it's nice of him to tell us. I work with that guy every day, but I don't. But see, I'm away from everyone, so no one really comes much within 10 feet of me. And I'm constantly driving a forklift either to or from something. So I don't like stop and talk to people because I'm very busy. And I'm one of those guys at work. Like, I don't want to talk. I just want to get the day over with. I mean, I'll be sociable if it's required, but now it's like I have a reason. It's like, hey, I'm really fat. Get away. I don't want yeah, that's so far so good. I mean, we haven't had the big super outbreak yet, but some places have.
Yeah.
Does General Motors shut down the plant in Ohio a couple weeks ago? They couldn't get enough people together to effectively run operations. And then, but Ford has I will give this to Ford. They have tried to have a very comprehensive system of you getting in and tracking if you're sick or not, and giving you all kinds of resources. They made custom-made apps for your phone that just work for them, where you can inform them of stuff and they can inform you of stuff. So I heard a lot of the other companies aren't doing that, and Ford is, so that's good. So far, so good. Let's see. Next for games, we have Bug Snacks.
Yep. Bug Snacks is like if David Cronenberg made a children's film.
Okay.
It's essentially it's kind of like what if Pokemon, but they were made of food. So you have like the Strawbee, and it's just like, and they always like say their own name, and the names are funny. So, Strawbee, or there's like a walrus, or not a walrus, more like what are those things? A warthog, but it's a hamburger, and it's called a bunger.
Okay.
Which sounds like almost racist.
Yeah, like we're straddling the lines of something here.
But it just like goes around, but it just says its own names. It's like bunger. Or my favorite one is it's essentially like what if a banana split was giant? What if a banana split was made in a bathtub? Like that's what this thing is, and it's called a Snoopy Banoopy. And,
Okay.
and like when you captured, it's like Snoopy, Banoopy, like it's sad. But there's like several different readings. So like they say their own name in like 8 different ways. Like they do a bunch of stuff. But anyways, so bug snacks. So yeah, they're bugs, and they're like shaped like different foods, and then people eat them. And when they eat them, their arms and legs or eyes, nose, whatever, turn into the thing they ate.
Okay.
And so like you're feeding the bug snacks to these. You're trying to get this village back together because there was an earthquake and they got separated. They're like, fuck that, I'm not being in the village anymore. And so you're feeding them the bug snacks because there's nothing else they can eat, and they're just like become these weird David Cronenberg body horror things of food. And it's not clear that like is this reversible? And that's not clear that it is or not.
Oh, okay. That sounds interesting. Bug Snacks, check it out. See, next we have Disc Room.
This one, don't even start it. This one's short. It's like it's a game where you don't what's when the camera's facing straight down? What do you call that?
Third person objective, or
No, it's like a 2D game, but like it's like the camera's like on top down.
Top-down
Yeah,
game,
it's
yeah.
like a top down
Contra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, not Contra. That's sides. But like, do you remember Smash TV?
Yeah, vaguely.
Yeah, it's that. Anyways, so yeah, you just like you're like this scientist that you discovered a planet that's just nothing but discs, but like saw blade discs, like that's kind of discs. And then you just go in these various rooms, and you're like trying to not die. But you essentially you always die, but then you're just like brought back to life, and you just solve these puzzles by either not dying or dying.
Okay.
And you get different abilities. Yeah, so that's just it's kind of a neat little game, but
Okay, next we have Ghost of Tsushima.
yes.
I think I'm saying that right.
Yeah, it's Tsushima. It's like
Tsushima.
yeah, it's like sushi, but with a ma at the end.
Okay.
So this is a PS4 exclusive game by Sucker Punch. It's essentially like they essentially made a Kurosawa video game,
Okay.
an open world samurai game. It's pretty cool, but like I kind of fell off of it because I don't think the story's that compelling. But like the game looks beautiful. Like they even have a mode in it. It's called Kurosawa mode where you can play it in black and white.
Okay.
It's
That's
pretty
creative.
yeah. It's pretty fun to play, but like I said, like I'm not sure how it's almost like I don't know, is chasing is the word. I forget what it is. It's almost just like too black and white, and it's not. There's like almost no humor to it whatsoever. But essentially, your clan is the Mongols invade Japan and like basically fuck up this whole area, and you are kind of left for dead on the beach, and like you kind of have to abandon your samurai ways and like be sneaky because you're just like a one-man killing machine, but you have to do it sneakily, and you're trying to like essentially like kick the Mongols out of Japan.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a pretty cool game, but like I just didn't really like the story too much.
Dry aesthetic to it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But like I said, like I think the worst part is there just kind of like isn't really any humor to it whatsoever. It's just like these are
Yeah.
bad things. Like yes, Father, I will stop the bad things.
All right.
Well, I mean, a lot of people are really pissed that it didn't win Game of the Year over Last of Us Part 2, so.
Yeah, I don't know. Like kind of I figure like kind of like the Game Awards stuff. They're kind of like it's like what are you gonna reward? Are you gonna reward gameplay or story? And I think right now they're kind of leaning towards rewarding story, because it's easier to convey to traditional media. It's like this is why this is
Yeah.
the best game. Whereas like if you try to convey to traditional media, like this game's great because it plays good, and like nobody knows the fuck that understands unless they play the game. But if you tell them story beats, it's like whoa, that sounds fucked up. Like then they'll understand. So.
Yeah, because there was somebody that was talking about gaming journalism and how it's not the same as it used to be or isn't the same as regular journalism because you don't even have to play the game. You just have an opinion on how great it is based on the story points you know or what character it is. And it's like, Yeah, technically he's right.
Well, game journalism doesn't exist. Like the it's what they call enthusiast press. Because it's not like, because all you can do is like play a video game and have an opinion about it. It's not like you're getting in deep. It's like, this is how this game was made and why the reason, or like there's like, that doesn't really exist. It's more or less you're just like, is this game good or not? That's what you want out of games press. And so you're not really getting like in-depth technical detail about a video game or shit like that. So it's more cultural and abstract. It's not really like it's not like news journalism. Although news journalism is barely news journalism anymore. So
Yeah, I was gonna say it's all kind of objective. So next we have PGA Tour 2K21.
So this is very much like the company that made this. They made an independent golf game called the Golf Club.
Okay.
And it's very much like the Tiger Woods games, so that it's like kind of flick the stick. Like the only thing you can't do versus the Tiger Woods games, in the Tiger Woods games, you could adjust the spin of the ball after you hit the ball, which is not realistic, but it makes it funner.
Okay.
So here you have to like adjust the spin of the ball before you hit it. But it's pretty good. There's the very pretty detailed like course editor, so you can create your own courses. Like this game can basically be infinite.
Okay.
So it plays pretty well, but it's pretty sparse otherwise. Like I was kind of impressed by some of the commentary where it's like they reacted to things that I wasn't expecting to. But after a while, it's just kind of like you either like playing the game or not. It's just kind of you load up a level and play it. There's not like a story mode. There's not really like wacky modes in it. It's a pretty sparse game, but I think it's pretty good. So
All right. Let's see. Next we have Carrion.
this is this is like a cruel game almost.
It doesn't sound too fun by its title.
You're like a parasitic blob, and then like you just go around, and like the way it moves is like really weird. It just sends a bunch of tendrils out and like grabs the walls and stuff, and then you just like eat scientists and grow bigger and get more abilities.
Okay.
It's very like when you eat the scientists, it's very violent and visceral. So just blood everywhere, and you yank them around. It's like, yeah, it's a pretty cool game. Like it's almost violent in the way where it's almost humorous. Like that's how ultra violent it is.
It's so violent it just takes you out of it, huh?
Yeah. No. It's like almost funny because, but I don't know. The guys that made this made a game called Butcher, which basically you're just some like weird devil assassin guy that destroys all of humanity and then himself dies at the end.
Okay.
And you just have like a shotgun and you're just destroying all of humanity in some weird future thing.
Oh, okay. So this is the kind of stuff they like then.
Like that was more cruel. Like this is probably less cruel. Like I said, like its cruelness has a sense of humor to it. So but yeah, it's a pretty cool game. Next we have, I'm going to go through these pretty quickly. Rogue Legacy 2. It's a sequel to Rogue Legacy, but it's in early access. So they kind of just added a few new things. The controls are kind of weird. Man, I don't know. We'll just have to skip that. I don't really have anything to say about it, really.
All right.
Risk of Rain 2. It's like a third-person action shooter follow-up to the first one, which was a side-scroller kind of like 2D game.
Okay.
It's kind of cool, but like I didn't really play enough of it. So we'll skip that one. I'm saving Deadly Premonition 2.
All right.
So we got Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 2. This is like a sequel to the first one, of course. This is these are like side games to the Bloodstained. What do they call it? Bloodstained something in the night. But it was the guy who made the Castlevania Symphony of Night. He made his spin-off series and got kickstarted. But these were just kind of like offshoots. They weren't really meant to be taken seriously, but like these are like kind of better than than the main game.
Oh, okay.
They're really old school. They just feel like Nintendo games, but just a bit more elaborate. So this one's probably harder than the first one, but it's still pretty cool. All right, we'll skip that one. Then we got Andrew up.
Yeah. What's the game? Sorry, I don't have the list up because I'm in the can.
Prison Architect.
Oh yes, I love this fucking game because I love sim management games basically. So it's. Oh, sorry. We want to start the countdown. I forgot about that.
No, you can just go ahead and talk.
Okay. Sorry. What? Okay. Anyway,
We
so
haven't
you start.
reading the countdown very much, so it's just kind of like, yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
some of these have been on here so long, I just completely forgot the game.
All right. So anyway, it got bought out by a different company now, so it's increased its amount of like DLC and stuff in the game. It used to be a much smaller game because two guys are working on it and coming out with different patches, more add-ons for years and years. So this game's been building for like eight years now. Anyway, you pick your warden, and that has different bonuses for your prison. Like you might find tunnels, you might find contraband more, you might get a piece of the pie for contraband, stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
And so you can run now you can run a women's prison or a male prison. And you can have all these different utilities and stuff like that. Like, oh yeah, they have a ping pong room, or they have all this other stuff, but they're still going to try and tunnel and kill each other and trade contraband and poison each other. Like if you make prisoners janitors, they might steal bleach to poison people or maybe kill themselves and shit. It's just fucking weird. It's like probably the best appropriation of like an actual like running a prison game I could actually probably recommend or find. It's just really cool. It's not like a graphically impressive game, but it really works as like a kitschy like art thing to it. And each prisoner has their own dossier of like what they did and their personality and background, and that gets added on to what experiences they have. And so it's not a real time game, so it's like, oh, they're sentenced to 35 years. That like takes 7 or 8 hours of the game time or whatever for them to either get parole or the death sentence or whatever is happens to them. Because they can go up in sentencing too through killing people or just hurting people in general.
Do you have do you have to efficiently build like a death machine to kill the inmates?
You can. I still haven't screwed around with the death penalty thing because it's not something I really. Because then you have all the appeal stuff and then waiting for all these. Because when you kill a prisoner, it like really fucking enrages the population. So, I try not to necessarily do that. Usually I do medium or high security, not max, because then gangs get involved and they control whole blocks, and then they really... Like, the tunnel system's elaborate. Like, you can buy more sections of land to make your prison bigger and bigger and have layers of fencing and layers of security. But they'll still, like, build a fucking 5-mile-long tunnel and tunnel out, like, half the prisoners at some point, because it's just like a 50-50 shot your dog will discover it or not, or contraband or whatever else going on. Because you can create a lot of money too, because there's like workshops where it's like, oh, prisoners, build beds and tables all day. We're going to make money off of you. You get all these federal grants
Prison
and stuff
labor
like that.
mode.
Yeah, they do have prison labor mode. So it's like, because like you can pick the warden that gets like 10% off all contraband found. So you just like make your prison rules really lax and just have searches on the perimeter. And so you're just like, oh, I found like $200 worth of contraband. I get $20 off of that. Cool. So it's like, I don't know how that works. That seems really like, where's the market for prison contraband on the outside? That's just regular shit. I don't know where the market for that is, but apparently there is. So yeah, I thought it was kind of entertaining, and it's a game I go to I can play music and kind of just have fun and not worry about it. You can start over. You don't have to spend like hundreds of hours on a prison, but you can if you want to. So it's a really deep game. I got it for like $20 early access, and it's paid dividends since. So,
All right, Prison Architect. Let's see, we got Final Fantasy VII Remake.
This is I haven't finished it because I just know it's a long game, so I just ended up not doing a whole lot. But it looks really cool. It plays pretty good if you played Final Fantasy VII. But I guess the interesting thing is like this This is like only like the first half of the game.
Yeah.
So there's like another game coming that's like finishing up the rest of the story.
Huh. Okay.
But yeah, there's a lot of Final Fantasy VII fans out there, and so this is a really cool and really well done remake. So if you like Final Fantasy VII, I do suggest getting it. I think it's only available for PlayStation 4 though. So
Okay. Next, we have Call of Duty World War II.
yeah, I just I had this I bought it one time and then I just never finished it. So then I finally went back in and finished the game. It's I mean it plays fine, but it's a pretty bland, generic Band of Brothers Call of Duty World War II game.
Yeah, my son played this. I've seen this game, so
So yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about it other than like it was fine.
it was fine. All right. So we watched a movie this week.
Yeah. Well, Andrew. Well, I know we kind of confused things. So Andrew ended up watching Born on the 4th of July. So we'll get to that next time.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah, sorry, I don't know why the hell I didn't read that right, but whatever.
Oh, that's fine. It happens.
You probably wouldn't have liked talk radio anyways.
Well, I still would have watched it.
It was on Peacock for free. That's how I watched it.
Yeah, I watched half of it, but I have seen it,
Okay.
and I have it on disc somewhere. I just went looking for it last week, and I was like, "Well, I can't find it." So, so I watched half of it on Peacock, and then halfway through, it said Peacock is not available at this time. Please try again later. And last time I tried was at 10 o'clock before the show started. It still wasn't available. So.
That's weird.
Yeah, that's.
Do you have a login for it, or were you just able to pull it up?
I get it free because Comcast is owned by
Okay.
NBC, and so yeah, I get all the Peacock premium and everything for free. But it's Comcast. It's complex. It's complex.
Do you remember the disc? Did it have an audio commentary on it?
I did not. When I got this was the disc where it just said side A, side B. It was one of those DVDs.
Because I feel like this is like one of the more like forgotten Oliver Stone movies.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's one of those movies like this is what I'd call like a mid '80s kind of rethinking of Network. Like it has a lot of those themes in it, but it's not story driven as much.
Oh, it's based on a stage play, which is the main guy. He wrote that play.
Yeah, Eric Bogosian.
Yeah, and so that this kind of feels like like Glengarry Glen Ross or stuff like that, where it's like mostly all dialogue, and then you just kind of like, how do we make interesting cinematography with just talking, and they do some interesting stuff here. So
it's a very claustrophobic movie.
Yeah,
you're always in this guy's face, and he's in kind of a cool studio in is Dallas, Texas.
Yeah, Dallas.
And,
this feels like the script feels very New Yorky, so I'm not sure if they just ended up setting in Dallas because it was favorable to shooting there, or if the original play was set in Dallas. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it has it's a very dialogue driven movie. It kind of has a very claustrophobic feel. Again, like I said, this reminds me of an 80s version of Network, but without all the extra like weird stuff going on. It's just one guy mad at the world and a bunch of weird people call his show at night.
Yeah, it's kind of a shock jock. He's kind of like Howard Stern, but he's also kind of who's the guy who does the late night stuff? Who did the like the conspiracy theory stuff? Art Bell?
Art Bell, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a combination of that.
Yeah, he's political. He's shocking. It's very much. It's kind of a right winger sometimes, and then sometimes.
Well, yeah, it starts out that way, but then like there's like an immediate turn where he's like saying the war on drugs is a complete travesty and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's the war on poor people and minorities, and it's like all stuff we know to be true now. back
That-
then.
Actually, what made me like really sad about this movie is that you think like this is a specific time and place. So
Yeah.
this shouldn't mirror current society. But you could take all the dialogue from this movie, update the technology, make it a podcast about social media, change the clothes, and you could keep almost the exact content of this movie and would work today. That's
Yeah, okay.
sad.
That's why I parallel it to Network, because it's like that would also work today. You'd have to switch some stuff around, but it's like, yeah, we're having. That's why nothing really surprises me, and I don't get too upset and too political, because it's like, oh, this is the same shit. This
Yeah.
is when people were carving shit into tablets with hammers. A lot of the same shit was going on then too. It's just not as well recorded. Yeah, he basically gives the same speech at the end of the movie, where it's like, you call me, you look for answers, none of it matters. I hate the corporations, I want power. He's just such a conflicted, angry person, and
But then, like, what the people calling with and what they're mad about, it's like, oh, these are the same fucking people. Like,
yeah, it's the same crew.
And what I mean is, like, the people now that are mad and angry about stuff, it's like, they're mad and angry about the same fucking shit.
You're angry, your lives have no meaning, you have no future, you've never had a thought in your life. But you call me, and you're angry, and you want me to validate your anger, and I don't give a fuck about your anger. I'm just here to get paid. And yeah, it's all the same.
Or like the first thing, because it takes place in Dallas, they talk about some horrific murder that happened, and it's like, they cherry pick these really awful things, and they just say the whole world is going to hell because this one thing happened recently.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh fuck.
Same shit, it's just different medium.
And there's a part where it's like, he's saying like the callers are cowards because they're anonymous. And it's like, oh fuck, that's just a comment section today.
It's just Twitter, with microphones. And you can call in and say what you want to, and you can send the host a dead rat, threaten, make bomb threats, and it's all kind of legit.
Yeah, the anti-Semitic stuff is just like still at home today. It's like you can't get rid of this shit.
30 fucking years later, it's the same argument. It's just not as amplified. The amplifiers weren't as effective back then.
Yeah.
And everyone didn't, because you needed hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment to do what he's doing. Now we can do it. I mean, nobody's listening, but theoretically, you could do the same thing. So yeah, that's it's all the same. Everyone hates the media. It's the corporations. It's greed. It's big business. Everyone knows it. It never changes. I think the speech he gave at the end of this movie when he had his breakdown, I would like it if Rush Limbaugh gave a version of that before he died, because it would actually validate him to me as like, oh, he knew all along. But he won't. That will never happen. But it's like he could do that. Yeah, this is like the Oliver Stone Players. John McGinley's in this.
Yeah, John C. McGinley again. Like, he's like 3 in a row, and it's like, did he ever work with him ever again? Because like the most movies I know Oliver Stone for are like probably like JFK onward, and I don't remember John C. McGinley after that. But maybe I just missed him in a bunch of stuff because I didn't know who he was.
Yeah, I don't. Let me look up his filmography, because now I'm curious. Yeah, he's in Born on the 4th of July.
Oh, okay.
But he's a bit part. He's in Fat Man and Little Boy. That wasn't Oliver Stone. That guy's been in a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, he's like a character actor. So, yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by this movie. But I was also, it's not necessarily like a likable movie. Like even like the main character, he's provocative, but he's also annoying. So it's kind of a grating movie. But I was pleasantly surprised by it.
Well, he's a guy who ultimately hates himself as much, because you like all the wacky shit he says to people, to his boss, played by a 15-year-old Alec Baldwin. It's like you like those aspects of him. It's like, yeah, this guy's telling it how it is. But then you realize, oh, he's just a terrible person.
Yeah.
Whereas like most of all is himself. He has a death wish. And
What was that bit where like one of the various anti-Semitic calls he gets in, but it's the guy who's like pretending they're saying he sent a bomb or whatever.
Yeah.
And like he goes off on that speech on like going to Auschwitz and finding this little Star of David, and then like, oh, it's just a complete lie. That's still bullshit. Like, why did he say that? It's like, well, I guess it's like I don't know. It's like
Theater of the mind. It's like,
Yeah.
well, that's super compelling. That never happened, but wow, it would be compelling if it did.
but nobody's watching him, so like he can say whatever the fuck he wants. So
we can make sure. And back then you could,
yeah.
because no one's getting on a computer and fact checking that with their own false information. So, but yeah, I think that this is largely a forgotten movie, and I don't know why. Upon rewatching it, it's like it's very much in the 80s. It's got that whole neon aesthetic. It's shot mostly at night, except when he's arguing with his ex-wife. A few outside scenes there, but yeah, mostly it's a claustrophobic, smoke-filled room.
There's a lot of I think it's called a split diopter.
Okay.
Which is there's like there's spherical lenses are able to keep the foreground elements and background elements in focus at the same time, but they're not using spherical lenses. So there's like some weird device where it's like it's keeping elements in the foreground in focus and elements in the background in focus. But then there's like this weird like haze in between. It's almost like a tilt shifted look.
Oh, okay.
Shit like that in the movie constantly. I like some of the stuff where they just have him on a thing that's just spinning him around while the camera's also spinning around. There's just like, because most of this movie is just dialogue heavy, and it's a guy sitting at a desk talking in a microphone. Like, how are you going to make that interesting? So they do try a bunch of stuff. So
yeah, and the shots of the Dallas skyline outside his studio are cool.
Hey, this is it's RoboCop land.
Yeah, we're RoboCop. But to me, it's like, oh, there's that world out there that he hates and looks beautiful, and he's not a part of. I thought that was an interesting, like, if that's what the aesthetic they're going for. It's coming across. But like I said, this is a super 80s movie style wise. It was.
Yeah.
But it was, like you said, on a play. So.
Go ahead, Andrew.
I was gonna say I watched Glenn Ross in high school. I liked that movie. I thought it had good substance. It had good dialogue, and it wasn't flashy, because it takes place all in an office building and doesn't really go anywhere as far as setting wise. But I respect those type of movies. I think I probably would have at least gave this movie a shot.
Well,
to win me over.
Well, I mean that's a Mammoth play, so that's you're talking. That's the best of the best. If you're good, that is Mammoth, right? Glengarry Glen Ross.
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, because all the subject matter you guys are talking about, where it's like basically, hey, it's just all the stuff we have today, except less far-reaching and less technology involved and everything else, and it's like that kind of stuff does hold up and it holds weight. I mean, that's why I like stuff like Cannery Row or Grapes of Wrath, and like it still holds up, even though it's all about Depression-era economics and how people are affected by people in that era, not just now, and it still holds up. And Steinbeck's a great author, so I don't know. I mean, hopefully at some point I'll watch it on my own, since you said it's free at the moment, at least on one streaming service.
Yeah, on Peacock. I think all you have to do is sign up, and then like you can watch it. You don't have to.
Oh, okay.
Because it's kind of like the old Hulu. Like, remember you could just sign up with Hulu and you were able to watch some things, but like you'd get like recent episodes, but like not like the whole season unless you wanted to pay for it. Like that's kind of what Peacock is now. I believe you can watch all of AP Bio, because I have AP Bio season 3 on there, because that's where it is now.
Oh. I thought I only got to season 2, or am I just missing a season?
They canceled it, but it got picked up for season 3 for Peacock.
Oh, good. Fuck, shit. I didn't know that. I thought it was just dead. That's why I was like, oh, I missed AP Bio, because I don't know why that couldn't get picked up again.
I mean, Peacock's just an NBC streaming service. It's weird. It's like, no, we can't put you on regular television anymore, but we'll put you on our streaming service.
Oh.
Yeah, some of it's
Pat Oswalt. Oh, sorry.
Some of it's ad supported, some of it isn't, so it's different.
I'll have to download that and check it out. Or is it on there? Was it on your Fire Stick already?
No, I don't. Yeah, you'll have to download it. Or
Okay.
just use your browser.
Well, because we've been watching you know, the Fox shows like Bob's Burgers and Simpsons when it comes out on Hulu and shit. But it's weird because all the other Fox animated shows, you can see every season and every episode, but The Simpsons, you get 2 days to watch the episode, then it disappears forever.
Huh.
There's no backlog of anything. There's no anything as far as the last couple seasons of keeping the season entirely. And it's like, why? It's Simpsons, I wouldn't even say is the most popular animated show by a long haul anymore. I don't know why you would.
I don't know. Maybe
access.
Maybe like FXX has some weird exclusivity to it or something.
Yeah, because I mean, Always Sunny in Philadelphia kind of has the same pattern. Like the recent season comes on and then it goes off as soon as the next season comes on. But it's not restrictive per episode like that is, because Jesus fucking Christ.
Well, that's like why I stopped watching Archer, because there was an easy way to find it, and I've missed like the last 2 seasons of Archer.
Oh, because I just watch it on Hulu every season, so it's just, I mean, yeah, you don't get the last season, but actually, no, you do. You get every season on Hulu.
Yeah, I was just waiting for it to fully like reach, because I know sometimes they put it on Netflix, but like it takes like they're like a year delayed or whatever.
Oh, but no, it's sorry. I like Hulu. I mean, it's not bad paying like 12 something a month for no ads. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. Maybe, hopefully, they won't increase the price anytime soon, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, the prices on that stuff might all start coming down because it's going to be their only way to distribute movies and things for a while. So I'll tell you one thing I haven't missed through all this is like going to the movie theater. It's like, I didn't really like that before.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked it when it was empty, when it was just a private screen
I
for
like,
me.
yeah, well, I like go seeing big spectacle movies, but like I don't, for like a small movie or something that's not an action movie, it's like there's no reason. I don't want to see dramas or comedies in the movie theater.
Yeah.
Or documentaries or any of that shit. But I'll go see action movies, but that's about it. I mean, Tenet comes out, I think on like the 25th or something like that, so I'm waiting for that.
Oh, it's the 15th, and it comes out on DVD at the same time, so it's like,
Yeah.
which I'm sure because his. Oh, sorry.
That was the only one I was like thinking like maybe I should go to the theaters to watch it, and then I was like, nah, never mind. Fuck that.
So you're not going to go see Star Wars: The Rise of the third movie again in theaters on the 25th of December. You're not gonna get COVID for that, are you? Like,
Although I
don't know why. Oh, sorry.
I've heard people like I heard you can just like rent out a movie theater for yourself for like $100. So I was thinking about like. So I was almost thinking about like inviting you and like let's go see a movie for like $100 and just rent out the whole fucking theater. But I was like, that's all right.
Well, maybe okay. So if it's still in February and that's the thing, I'll pay half to go see Nobody with you in theaters.
Does anybody remember? Does anybody remember the last movie they saw in theaters? I do, but we'll see if anybody else remembers.
Fuck, I don't remember anymore.
Mine might be also yours.
I think the last one I saw was the one about the lighthouse keepers that me and Grayson went and saw.
Oh, okay.
Wasn't ours Bad Boys for Life?
It might be, but did Birds of Prey come out later or before that?
Oh yeah, Birds of Prey too. Shit, yeah.
Birds of Prey.
I couldn't remember which one was the last one.
I think Bad Boys came out in January, but I think Birds of Prey came out in February. So I think it was Birds of Prey was the last one we saw.
Because if you ask me the last movie I saw in theaters with my wife, I can't remember. I mean, I know I went to the movie theaters more with you the last year than I did with her, but I think that was more just like, oh, we're doing it on a cheap day, and it's not like, you know, anything too. I mean, it was just movies we wanted to see, but also just like it was cheap, so it was easy to see them, and my wife wasn't off work, so
yeah. Or
I cheated on my wife with you.
Or we go see the latest Marvel movie or whatever.
Yeah. And I usually my wife and me did that too, but at the same time I literally can't remember. Now I feel bad that I can't remember what the hell the last movie I saw with her was. I think it might have been the newer Terminator movie I saw with her. Okay. Maybe the last thing in theaters. God, I'm gonna have to ask her and see if she remembers, and I'll feel bad if she does. It's like, don't you remember, honey? Yeah. It's like it's never left my memory. Anyway.
What was the last big spectacle movie made?
Well, probably Star Wars.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Tenet was a spectacle movie, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, I guess yeah.
just they're talking.
Well, yeah,
about-
there's plenty of them been made. They just haven't been released.
yeah, there's a few in the can. They were talking about that on Red Letter Media the other day. Like, is this Marvel and Star Wars, is that the end of the spectacle movies if that business model just doesn't work anymore after this?
Yeah.
Been watching
Well, it's just
Florian lately?
Yeah, I'm caught up.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if Andrew is. Are you caught up on the Mandalorian, Nate? Or Andrew?
I got episode 5 today. Watched it with Ahsoka Tano. So
Oh,
I mean, I didn't get any further because I hadn't slept much today, so I was trying to get some episodes in.
Yeah, that's fine.
So
The latest episode has been like 34 minutes long, so it's been nice. It's like, oh, I'll just knock this out before at 2 a.m.
it's just fun to see
Yeah.
Bill Burr back.
Yeah, that was a really interesting episode.
yeah, people have been talking about that pretty consistently, along with the Razor Crest being fucked up more and more, or destroyed or whatever. I've had some spoilers for the show already before I got to start watching
that's
it
kind
this
of,
week.
we're trying to hold off on. We'll wait till like we've all seen it. So
Yeah, because
No, that's fine. I appreciate it.
it's a consistently entertaining show.
yeah, me and Nathan
Yeah.
just keep talking about how, or I keep bringing it up that like they just need to hand the keys over to Jon Favreau for all the Star Wars shit.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking about what's her name, the female executive did such a horrible job of Star Wars, how she's included in it now. So hopefully she doesn't have a lot of executive power as an executive producer, but I'm sure she does.
Is it Kathleen something?
Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah.
Because I was like, look, honey, you gave somebody a job that shouldn't have a job anymore for no reason.
Well, I mean,
So-
the people that she gave stuff to are like good people. They just like, it seems like they didn't let them go far. Well, they let one guy go far enough, then everybody hated The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
And then J.J. Abrams just kind of like made too safe of a movie, and then like nothing in the last one made any fucking sense, and that just kind of like ruined everything.
I still haven't seen that because I've just heard so many bad things.
Yeah,
I'm like,
you don't
watch
have
it.
to. And I can't remember. Like, I've been hearing stuff about like Admiral Akbar died, and like, did he die in the Rise of Skywalker?
He did, because it was just like they showed him kind of out of frame, and it didn't even reference who the fuck he was, and he just got sucked out with Princess Leia or whatever. So it's like,
'cause I could,
yeah, that's a dignified ending for a character.
because I didn't even remember. Oh, that was in the Last Jedi. Oh, I didn't remember that happening. So
Yeah. So, because I was something between movies that I caught on Reddit or whatever, and I was like, really, he's dead? Like, what the fuck? They didn't even reference him at all in those movies, and it's like a character that was, he didn't have a huge screen presence in all the movies in the last 3, but he was a character that people liked. So, don't see why you have to kill him off that way, but I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. So they just need to let, like Colin said, they just need to let Jon Favreau do it all, because he captures the right beat. And he also lets people do what they want to. I've heard, like the writers and stuff. He's like, it's all like mutualism. It's like, yeah, we can explore that idea. Nothing gets shot down, but nothing like no one gets their complete way. It's like, well, no, we're gonna do this, and we can explore that. And it's like, there's no agenda built into this except let's entertain people.
Well, there's the other guy who's like the co-producer who came from the Clone Wars animated show, who he's just like a super Star Wars fan, and he's just like bringing all the stuff back, because like they basically got rid of all that extended universe stuff, and said, and through this show they're like, nope, we're bringing it back, fuckers.
Because it works, because it entertains people.
But yeah, we're also talking about like how, recently, people are, are trying to like do something. They're trying to ape George Lucas, but like what the Mandalorian does is like they just go to the source material. They steal from Kurosawa the same way George Lucas stole from Kurosawa. So
Yeah.
it's like you don't have to steal from George Lucas. You can steal from the people he stole from.
Yeah, they're just kind of the Magnificent Seven, every Western you've ever seen, where the stranger drifts into town who's a good shot, and all kinds of fun stuff happens, and everyone's entertained, and we don't have to have an agenda.
And then they do that nice thing where like kind of like every episode is just kind of unto itself. You don't really have to know anything to enjoy the episode, but then like it's kind of bookended by like overworld stuff. So,
Yeah.
like, you know, kind of like the X-Files used to do.
But
That, so.
I think the meme that's out there right now that's very accurate about like he always goes to a place and expects to do something, but then is sidetracked by somebody else's quest. It is like, I just like to refuel my ship. No, you need to complete this quest first.
Yeah, it's that formula. It's like the one guy
Yeah.
said, it's like homebrew Dungeons and Dragons. It's like upgrade your armor, talk to a wizard. You know, there's nothing like there's no like what is the parallels of this and our modern society? It's like no, this is not that. This is just fun. And I've never heard anything like horrible or you know, it's just like everyone seems to do this and show up and have a good time. I know they don't like that lady that's an MMA fighter.
Oh, I don't have a problem with the character.
It's not her
No,
character.
it's a personal. I forget what she pissed some people off with something. It's a
Well,
political thing.
she's political. Yeah, she's an anti-mask person or something, and it's like, well,
Oh, great.
but yeah, she's also like a professional athlete, and she's like, this isn't going to kill me. Fuck that. So that's like her point of view.
Yeah.
But she's good in the show, and she beats people up professionally. It's like, okay, well, I'm not going to her for medical advice. You know,
Is that Gina Carano? I think that's her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's. No, there's.
care
Sorry, the
about
lava.
on the show.
The Imperial base on the World in the Lava episode or whatever, where Horatio Sands' character. There's been a couple of things that have bugged me so far in the episodes. Like, why the fuck would you put that line in there? It doesn't make any sense. Like, he pulls up to the door and he's like, I can't go any further, boss. I'm like, why does your character need to say that? It's obvious no one can go any further. It's like just filler dialogue. And there's been a couple of times where people have said stuff like that, where it's like even the last episode we watched where Ahsoka Tano showed up and the mercenary guy's like, so you sided with the Jedi, huh? As they're killing everyone and siding against them. It's like, why was that line necessary? Why not something more badass? Like, you know, I'm going to have to kill you now, or something that makes more logical sense than like, huh, I guess you sided with her. It's like, yeah, dumb shit. What the fuck you're talking about?
Yeah, it took me like near the end of the episode. I was like, is that fucking Michael Biehn? And they're like, oh fuck, that's Michael Biehn. Because he didn't sound like him till like that some moment. It's like, that sounds like Michael Biehn. It's like he doesn't really look like Michael Biehn anymore, but
Yeah, he's like almost like 65 years old now. But yeah, that's a good show. That's been a bright spot. Just because it's just some things I like because of its simplicity. You know, it's not like I'm watching Devs or something where it's like, okay, I gotta watch it like 5 times, which I enjoyed that a lot too. But it's like, yeah, this is like a nice little vacation. You know, this isn't. It's not trying to be challenging unnecessarily weirdly.
yeah.
Which is good. Or like talk radio where it's like, oh yeah, this exhausting social commentary that's been running in this country essentially since the end of World War II. Like almost every generation has its version of the corporations are winning and we're losing our humanity, and it's like, yeah, 40 years later, still fighting the same fight. Well, not really fighting the same fight, just passenger
Losing the same fight.
Well, not winning or losing. It's just because that shit always eats itself eventually. I mean, it's like you know, it's like the end of the Trump presidency. You know, that was just a horror show for everyone in 2016, and he could still do a lot of damage, but it's coming to an end. It eats itself eventually.
I learned something interesting about pardons this week from the Legal Eagle channel.
Okay.
Apparently, a president can only pardon somebody from a federal crime. They can't pardon them from a state crime. That can only come from a governor.
That's why New York's going after him so vigorously. Or not. I don't know.
Well, also pardons for yourself aren't technically illegal, just no one's done them before.
Yeah, that's what the most of the episode was about. It's like, can Trump pardon himself? And there's only like one case that has any like bearing on the situation. From I don't even know the president. It was like fucking 100 years ago or whatever. So,
Probably Warren G. Harding.
and but yeah, so they're wondering like if last day he'll just like resign and then have Pence pardon him and shit like that.
Well, like I said, even Nixon wasn't ugly enough to pardon himself. He had Ford. do it.
Yeah.
So, but people, it angers me when.
But
people
Ford only did that at the end of his presidency, right? He didn't necessarily. Have
he
to do
did that at the start.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
he did. Yeah, so the nation could heal.
It's time to
It's
heal
like-
our national wounds.
It's like, I get it, I really do, because Biden's taking the same tact right now where it's like, we need to heal and come together. And it's like, no, we need to prosecute people that are assholes and don't want to play by the rules and show people we punish people for not working as if government should work. But instead, we're going to, because immediately when he said, oh, I'm not going to enforce a mask mandate. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Trump did the same stupid bullshit. You see where it got him on this crap. Why the fuck are you following his goddamn lead?
Don't be
It's-
surprised if Biden ends up pardoning Trump.
Oh, fucking if he does, I'll fucking I'll be outside of the White House for my 2 weeks of vacation telling Biden to go fuck off.
It probably won't happen, but I wouldn't be shocked if it did. Do you know why presidents can pardon people? What in the modern world, since the Second World War, why they do that? It's because presidents ask people to do things that are technically break our laws and everyone else's laws, and no one would ever do anything. CIA directors wouldn't put things on the line the way they do if they didn't know there was a pardon. That's how that system works.
Yeah, that was something that was kind of explained in the video where it's like because it's a president, it's not technically illegal for the president to tell somebody to do something illegal. It's only illegal if the person does it.
Yeah.
something crazy like that.
Yep. And if they do it and they get caught, then the president can pardon them. Because not all pardons, there's secret pardons too. There's pardons that are not publicized, that they're cloaked in secrecy.
But then they're also talking about like, can Trump pardon his family, and they're talking about Bill Clinton pardoned his brother from a cocaine charge or whatever.
Yeah, and Hillary's brother.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
And-
about that. And one of their campaign financiers, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Something
Mark
like that.
Rich, somebody. Yeah,
So there's precedent
Oh,
for
okay.
that.
Yeah.
but anyway, my point was like it comes and it goes and it eats itself. I mean, MAGA has eaten itself. It was the long con from the beginning, and now it's dying. He's still making a lot of money off of his, devoted followers that are still giving him money. It's like, oh, this is amazing, because he's going to run again in 2024. He says that, and then he says he's not going to concede. So, okay, it's all just when two contradictory things like that are going on at the same time. Now, I'm not an expert, but I pretty much think, oh, there's a con being run here. that's what I've always thought about Trump.
It's like he'll tell anybody who's listening whatever they want to hear.
Well, the thing with
And
Trump,
nobody,
that everyone missed, that they didn't, that I started seeing in about 2017, 2018, is, he was going to build the wall, never happened. He was going to start a trade war with China, never happened. He was going to do all this stuff that he never happened. And it's like, did he ever want to do it? I don't know. I can't read minds. I can't, ascribe him intentions. But I think what he really liked was to go to, Ohio and places like that and have people chant his name. I think he liked that. And I think that's what his whole presidency was. He has done nothing. The only laws he passed were the changes to the tax code. That's all he did. Everything else has been presidential orders.
It's like the same laws they always change whenever there's a Republican presidency.
Yeah.
And then when there's a Democratic president, they just flip them back.
Well, I mean, Bush, for all his nonsense, he had the Patriot Act, which we can all probably agree wasn't a great thing, unless you believe that keeps us safe. Bush did all kinds of changes, regulations. Trump's done nothing. Nothing that's passed through the House and the Senate that he signed that wasn't either already preloaded or didn't jibe with his agenda. He's not sponsored any legislation. He hasn't pushed for anything. He's done nothing for 4 years but have people praise him. and only a certain group of people. Everyone else hates him.
Did he just appoint one person to the Supreme Court, or how
Two.
many? Two.
Yep.
So that's kind of the only thing he did.
Well, he picked the first person he appointed was right after he was elected, and that was like Obama's third pick. That Neil Gorsuch guy, I believe, was like someone that Obama was even. That's not the first person he wanted or the second, but it was like, well, we could get this guy in, and then that Barrett was the one when Ruth Ginsburg died, who's the, just anti-abortion lady that.
Well, then you got goddamn, what's his name? The guy that fucking was drunk and supposedly raped somebody.
Oh yeah. So he had three.
Kenneth something.
I think so. I mean, I'm not completely sure, unfortunately.
Yeah, the guy like appeared in blackface too, and had a
Jesus Christ.
sex.
He pulled a Justin Trudeau, did he? No.
Yeah, I think he was with Justin Trudeau.
He pulled a rich white person thing.
Yeah, that must be something rich white people do, because for all the things I've done in my life, and like I said, I'm no PC liberal woke person by any stretch of the imagination, but I have never once been in blackface. Never happened. So that must be something you do at fraternities and when you go to college, and those are all experiences I never had. So I don't know. That's a weird thing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, what was that guy's name? What's that guy? I can't remember his name.
Brett Kavanaugh.
Kavanaugh, yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
I forgot about him. It's interesting, though, the Supreme Court shot down like 3 things with this election challenge, though.
Yeah.
And then
Well, I mean,
this guy's like, oh, I thought I had this ace in the hole. It's like, well,
no, because like I said from I think a couple months ago, where it's like, yeah, you might have appointed all these people, but if they're smart, they're not going to side with them. They're going to keep their fucking jobs.
well, that's the thing about the Supreme Court. It's lifetime appointments.
Yeah.
It's not like, well, my term ends when his presidency's up, so yeah, fuck it. Let's extend this forever, because if it was real political like that, it would be going on.
Well, that's why I was comforted by the Legal Eagle channel, because he was going into it and he was talking stuff I didn't understand, but at least it's like I could vaguely it's like get my head around it. But he was talking about how like the Supreme Court, they can't just like rule willy nilly. There's actually like the Constitution, but there's a certain way they have to rule, but they can't just like do it by favoritism. There's like guidelines to how they have to.
I think they have to cite case law and stuff like to make, because there's like everyone votes yay or nay, and then they have to come up with their opinion based on. That's why they have like when all these people say I was a legal clerk for so and so, like they have like 100 legal clerks that just like go research this, go research that. Yeah, I think the Supreme Court has to cite.
But there's there's some like Latin phrase that the Supreme Court has to judge things differently from every other court in the land.
Yeah.
Well, because did you guys read the legal description for why they sided against Texas in the case against election fraud and shit? Where it was just like basically legal speak for Texas can't decide what other voting laws in other states are. It's not their right to decide that. And it was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like, because they even had New California and New Arizona file a lawsuit with Texas, and it's like, what the fuck are you talking about, New California? Oh, it's just made up states that Trump's lawyers made up. It's like, Jesus fuck.
The new Confederacy.
Yeah, basically. Because I still have plenty of people at work that believe all this stuff is going to end in bloodshed and horror. And it's like, yeah.
Well, I'm glad they're thinking positive.
Well, that's just their fantasy,
Yeah.
It's like, I want to be on top and I want people to die.
Okay, so I had 2 guys that work that work the dock for us, and they're both doom and gloom Republicans. So they're basically like, they have nothing to say besides, oh, we're all going to die and we're all going to lose our jobs and all these foreigners are going to take our jobs bullshit all the time. And so they were talking about, oh, the corporate tax rate's going to go up to 45% now. And I'm like, no, that's not what it's supposed to go up to. I mean, maybe if you're Apple or something, yeah, 45%. But if you're like mom and pop, no, it's not going to be that. No, that's my buddy owns a repair shop in Marion, and he's going to get fucked in the ass. He's talking about how can't pay his taxes anymore. At least it's worse than Obama. And so I was debating it with him. I'm like, no. It's like you and me. If he owns an independent business, his tax rate is nothing like that. It's independent tax rate for what he would make as individual. It's not. He's not an incorporated business. That's not how it works. No, you're wrong. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Trump's, the one that got small businesses back, and it's like, and so I went and researched it to make sure I wasn't, blowing wind out my ass, and I was like, oh no, Biden's tax rate for corporations is only going to be 7% more than Trump's and 7% less than Obama's tax rate, and so it's like directly in the fucking middle. The only controversial thing he's trying to do is taxing corporations on their spending on their balance sheets. So there's not going to be R&D deductions anymore and all this other shit. They're going to get taxed on what they actually make before they claim profit and shit.
Yeah.
But that's not even something he can implement. He has to put it in law and then have it passed.
Andrew, I appreciate you doing the research, but those guys in the docks aren't going to give a shit what facts you have.
So, I don't have just more or less.
Here's the truth. But no, I have feelings.
Well, here's the thing with those guys, because there's all kinds of course, there's massive talk like that around here. Like, there's going to be a civil war, and it's like, okay, you understand that, like, if there's a civil war, number one, it's not going to be some stand-up fight. Okay, the Michigan National Guard is not going to go MAGA and kill the governor and then fight the 101st Airborne Division and win. Okay, it's not what's going to happen here in Michigan. What's going to happen is you're going to live in a world of constant IEDs, roadside bombs, Oklahoma sitting. But understand, while all that's going on, you're not going to be sitting in your house. You're going to be expected to go to work, go buy groceries, go get gas. But now you're going to be doing all those things in an environment of sudden explosive violence that you can't control, that will come randomly from anywhere, and it could go on for 20 years. Is this what you people want? So because Trump's not president, you want to live in that world? You want to live in Syria? I mean, because that could all happen if people go nuts, but it's not going to be something that people that don't have millions of dollars and just have money rolling in from investments and that can hide up in their giant fortress homes are going to live comfortably through. The rest of us are people living in the suburbs and shit. Like I said, we're going to be expected to go to work, pay our taxes, send our kids to school, but we're going to have the addition of random bombings and suicide bombings and truck bombs and all that, which could happen without warning anywhere, anytime. And you people think that's some kind of fantasy world you want to live in. Okay. I mean, there's countries you can go to now where you can experience that, get a taste for it, I guess. Because I know you're not going to. My fat ass isn't going to be running around throwing Molotov cocktails at anyone. That's not my world. But yeah,
I'm going to be drinking something called a Molotov cocktail, but I'm not going to be throwing it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll provide the empty bottle for you, but yeah, that's all weird talk. I mean, we all don't have to put hands and sing Kumbaya and pretend everything's going to be great. But if it's either Trump or total civil collapse. Yeah, I think that's a pretty stark worldview and not even a realistic one. So, but yeah, I know people have these fantasies that like our state's not going to stand for that. It's like this has already been tried once with much more primitive weapons, and it still led to the death of 1 million people. And the guys that revolted, guess what? They're still part of the United States. So, and you're not even fighting over principles. You're fighting over some billionaire's ego. Someone who lives in a gold room on top of a high rise he owns. He doesn't care about you or good taste. Puts his name on the front of huge buildings. That's a weird thing.
It has his own golf course in Scotland.
There's golf courses everywhere, and he loves.
I mean, a lot of the buildings in foreign countries and some of the United States only pay to put his name on the building. He doesn't actually own any of them for the most part. Like, he does have a sweet deal that way, I guess, where he doesn't actually have to bring anything besides his name. But if that falls to shit, then he might not have a revenue that way either.
Well, I mean, just the art of doing that is bizarre to me. If I had a bunch of money, I would never buy a building in Lower Manhattan, call it the Murphy Tower. That would just seem really odd. I'd give it like a single name, or a weird name, like, we'd call it, the Infinity Spire or something. It's like, what does that mean? I don't know. The guy who owns it's a weird.
That was an interesting.
After myself.
There's kind of an interesting twist with like how companies are rethinking things, and I only know this through McLaren, but McLaren, so they have that their facility, that one that has like the pool that like cools their fuck, what's it called, the air thing, the
Air intake
the wind tunnel.
yeah, okay.
And they sold off their building, so they don't own the building anymore. They just rent it because, like, well, we're a tech company. Like, we're not what do you call that?
Real estate.
Real
yeah,
estate.
yeah, we're not real estaters. So like they sold off the building to somebody else, and they just rent it from those people, and then like that helped them have like go like black in the books or whatever. It's like, we don't even own this building, and it's like, and who the fuck are they going to sell this building to anyways?
The Trump hole. The Trump wind hole. He gets to have his name on it. It's like it costs more money to heat and cool this building a year than it does for McLaren to rent it 3 times. Doesn't matter. It's got my name on it. This is why he's not worth anything.
Ferrari has a really weird, or I guess not weird. It's like an interesting, looks like an art piece. Their wind tunnel. It's just like, it's like this kind of like it's almost like a square wind tunnel, but it's like sitting at an angle, and it's like sitting on a hill.
Yeah.
And it's like, and one end's smaller than the other, because I watched this whole video about like how wind tunnels work and like how they have to, like it's not just like a fan blowing the air has to go around this circuit so it hits the car more naturally like it would in real life.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're just in the real world you're traveling through an atmosphere, and it's the speed of your vehicle that's causing the wind. It's not just because someone clicks on a fan 10 feet in front of you.
Yeah.
That's not natural. You can gain information from that, but yeah, they have. I always like those wind tunnels where they test like future jet engines and so like, or those test tunnels. It's like, where the hell are those, and how loud is that?
I like the it was talking about Hyundai and how they like, I think they're like the largest boat builder in the world.
Yeah.
And they had this cool thing where they test the propellers, where it's just like you see the propeller, and it's just like whizzing around real fast, and then they hit it with a strobe light, so then it looks like it's not moving at all anymore, and it's to check imperfections. Like if it looks different after each one, it's like, well, the thing's fucked, but if it looks the same, it's like, it's good.
It's a giant bronze propeller spinning at like 5,000 RPM. And if that thing cuts loose, people are going to die. You ever see them cast a propeller?
No.
Oh, it's amazing. I think they only do it in the third world now. Maybe they do it here somewhere too. But yeah, it's just like, you know, those giant crucibles like from Terminator 2?
Yeah.
They just roll like 5 of those in, and they start pouring them simultaneously into this sand, and this giant bronze propeller comes out. Like, I mean, when they bust it out, they have to bust it out of the sand pretty quick. But yeah, it's just this glowing bronze propeller. It's like, that's insane. Some of those propellers are like 2 stories high. You know, it's just crazy shit. Boats are fascinating. Especially the like they have the bow thrusters. Have you ever seen the video on YouTube about how those work?
No.
Like a lot of the new freight boats have they're called bow thrusters, and they look like 6 big fans in the front behind it, like a grid.
Are they ones that like rotate?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they enable the boat. That's how those giant boats can like move sideways and shit, is because of those. And yeah, the engineering behind those is pretty astounding. It's just, you know, it just takes like this is engine that powers these is a, you know, 2,000 cubic inch, you know, Rottmeyer engine made in Norway. That's like, you know, there's 5 guys standing head to shoulder, and they're not as tall as the engine. We're going to start the engine now. It takes 12 hours to prime the engine to start it. It's like, this is nuts. That's how you move millions of tons of freight all at one shot, because it takes equipment to that scale.
Yeah, that's the weird thing about boats is like because how buoyancy works. It's the most economical way to ship things, because you can just throw a ton of weight on it and it doesn't really affect you as much as long as you have as long as it's constructed correctly.
And doesn't get hit by a rogue wave or something. Well, you know, for years and years and years, they've pushed about making those nuclear powered. Just making like giant. There's only a few ports that could accept them just because of their size and depth, but they're just so fearful. It's like we can't just turn this over to private. They won't change the oil in the nuclear reactor, and then we'll have a big problem. But yeah, they said if those were nuclear powered, like I forget how much diesel fuel would not be burned, but it's just like ungodly amounts of fuel that would not be burned. But you know, private industry and nuclear energy don't have a good track record.
I think the closest you get to it is like that nuclear powered icebreaker that the Russians have.
Oh, they have several of those.
Yeah.
I like the one that got they had to hurry up and decommission because the guys in the galley that were cleaning dishes, they're like, oh, they got these steam lines here. It really cleans the food off in a hurry. And it was from the return loop on the reactor. It's like, look, these pots are clean. The whole kitchen was irradiated. Like 6 people died because these were just like peasants that didn't know any better. It's like, look how hot that. Just turn that valve and put a hose on it. We don't even have to wash these things. They're sparkling clean. The water was like 500 degrees or something. It's like, yeah. I forget which nuclear. I think that was the Lenin. It was one in the 60s that happened too. And of course, the Russians lied about it for years. They're like, no, that's not what happened. And then it's like, why do you have this big irradiated ship like by the Kola Peninsula? Oh, well, we decided not to use it. It's, you know, you built it 2 years ago. Yeah, it didn't work out. Stop asking questions or I'll send you to a gulag. Well, that's all I got for this week.
All right.
This week for the American Greed Factory podcast is Nathan.
This is Conlon.
Andrew.
Goodbye, America.